I was standing on the balcony of our favorite rooftop restaurant, the cool evening air carrying whispers of romance and possibility, when the unthinkable happened. I had planned every detail of my proposal for months: a surprise ring, candlelit tables, a symphony of soft music in the background. In that first breathtaking 100 seconds, as I gazed at the shimmering skyline and imagined the life we'd build together, I heard a hushed, urgent conversation from inside. My heart skipped a beat when I realized it was my girlfriend Emma speaking on the phone, her voice trembling with emotion and regret. The words I overheard in that moment altered everything I thought I knew about our future. In that instant, every dream, every promise, and every plan we had made together shattered into fragments of doubt, betrayal, and an overwhelming need for the truth. I had been preparing for this night for what felt like an eternity. Emma and I had met almost 5 years ago in a bustling art gallery in downtown Chicago. A chance encounter that blossomed into a deep, soulful connection. We spent countless evenings exploring hidden corners of the city, sharing our passions for music, art, and literature. Our love grew organically, nurtured by spontaneous road trips, quiet coffee dates, and whispered secrets in the dead of night. I had fallen for her resilience, her passion for life, and the way her eyes lit up when she talked about her dreams. I believed our bond was unbreakable, that every challenge we faced only brought us closer together. And so, with a heart brimming with hope and excitement, I chose tonight to take the next step, to propose and to promise her a future of endless love and shared adventures. The rooftop restaurant was our secret haven, a place we had discovered on one of our many urban escapades, hidden among towering skyscrapers with a view that took my breath away. As I waited for Emma to join me, I rehearsed my proposal in my mind, each word meticulously crafted to capture the depth of my feelings. The setting was perfect: soft jazz music playing in the background, the glow of string lights overhead, and the gentle murmur of conversation from other diners. I felt invincible, ready to declare my love and to embark on a lifelong journey together. Then, just as I was about to step inside and greet her with a smile that masked my pounding heart, I heard her voice, quiet, urgent, and laced with an unfamiliar strain of sadness. I froze at the sound, leaning over the balcony railing to catch every word. "I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore. I never meant to hurt you, but I just can't be with him," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the gentle rustle of the wind. The call was short, but the implications were seismic. My mind reeled. What did she mean? Who was him? The world around me slowed as the realization set in. The future I had dreamed of, the moment I had been so ready to embrace, was now shrouded in uncertainty and heartbreak. The initial shock was overwhelming. I retreated inside, my proposal ring heavy in my pocket, as I tried to process the words I had overheard. I sat down at a secluded table near a window, the city lights blurred by unshed tears. My thoughts raced. Had Emma been unhappy all along? Was there someone else in her life? The night, once filled with promise, now felt like a cruel, ironic twist of fate. I couldn't believe that the woman I loved, who had once filled my life with vibrant color and laughter, could now be contemplating a breakup with someone else, someone I had never even heard her mention. Desperate for clarity, I called her phone, my voice shaking as I asked, "Emma, is that true? Who are you talking about?" The call went straight to voicemail. I sent a frantic text message but received no response. Minutes turned into hours as I sat there, each tick of the clock echoing in the silence of my shattered world. I felt a cascade of emotions: hurt, betrayal, confusion, and a gnawing fear that everything I had believed in was a lie. I had envisioned this night as the beginning of forever, yet now it threatened to be the end of everything we had built together. Unable to bear the uncertainty, I left the restaurant and wandered the empty streets, my mind a swirling vortex of memories and what-ifs. I recalled our early days, the way Emma had laughed when I tripped over my own feet on our first date, the gentle way she had held my hand during long walks in the park, the quiet evenings spent sharing our hopes for the future. Every cherished moment now felt like a double-edged sword, filled with both joy and impending loss. I walked aimlessly for what felt like hours, seeking solace in the neon glow of the city, trying to drown out the echo of her whispered confession. At some point, I found myself sitting on a bench near a quiet, rain-soaked alleyway. The dampness of the pavement mirrored the heaviness in my heart. I pulled out my phone again and began scrolling through old messages, trying to find any clue or hint that might have foreshadowed this devastating turn. I reread the conversations we had shared, the promises we had made, and the gentle assurances that had once seemed so unbreakable. But no matter how many times I read them, the words now felt hollow, a cruel reminder of a love that had slipped through my fingers. In that moment of solitude, I resolved that I could no longer let uncertainty consume me. I needed answers, even if they shattered the illusions I had so carefully built. With trembling hands, I decided to call Emma's best friend, Lisa, a kind soul who had known them both for years. After a few rings, Lisa answered, her voice soft and cautious. "Hello," she said. I quickly explained the situation, my voice barely a whisper. "Lisa, I overheard a call from Emma. Something about not being with him anymore." "Who is him? What's going on?" There was a long pause, and I could almost hear her heart break on the other end of the line. I'm not entirely sure, Sarah," she finally said. "I think Emma has been seeing someone new, but she's been very secretive about it." "I'm so sorry." The words felt like a sledgehammer, each syllable striking with the weight of loss. I thanked her and hung up, the bitter truth settling over me like a dark cloud. That night, I lay awake in a hotel room I had checked into after leaving the restaurant. The room was dimly lit, the only sound the soft hum of the air conditioner and the occasional distant car passing by. My mind replayed every detail, the call, Emma's trembling voice, the unanswered questions, and I began to question everything I thought I knew about our relationship. Was I not enough for her? Had I failed to provide the love and security she needed? The thought of losing her, of losing the person I had loved so deeply, was unbearable. I clutched the engagement ring in my hand, feeling its cold metal as if it were a lifeline, and wondered if it would ever again symbolize a promise of forever. The following morning, determined to confront the uncertainty head-on, I decided to reach out to Emma directly. I composed a careful text message, asking if we could meet in person to talk, to clear the air once and for all. I hit send, my heart pounding as I waited for a response. Hours passed with no reply. The silence was deafening. My emotions swung wildly between hope and despair, and I found myself questioning if I had made a terrible mistake in planning the proposal without ensuring that our love was as strong as I believed. In a moment of exasperation, I dialed her number again, and this time, after several rings, she answered. "Hello?" Her voice was quiet, tinged with an emotion I couldn't quite decipher. I took a deep breath. "Emma, we need to talk. I heard something and I need to know what's going on." There was a long pause and then softly she said, "Sarah, I'm so sorry. I don't know how to explain." Her hesitation was agonizing and I pressed gently, "Explain what, Emma? Who is him? Please, I need to understand." Her next words were barely audible, "I've been trying to figure it out too. I'm scared, Sarah. I never meant to hurt you, but I think I might have made a mistake." The confession was a dagger through my heart, a revelation that shattered the carefully constructed dreams of our future. In that moment, everything blurred, the lights of the city, the warm memories of our shared past, even the promise of a proposal. I ended the call, my hands shaking, my mind reeling with a torrent of emotions I had never experienced before. I felt betrayed, confused, and profoundly alone, as if the very foundation of our love had crumbled beneath me. I knew then that the path forward was uncertain, that the truth of Emma's new relationship, or whatever secret she was hiding, would forever alter the course of our lives. The days that followed were a whirlwind of introspection and painful soul-searching. I revisited every memory, every moment of laughter and love, trying to pinpoint where things had gone so terribly wrong. I pored over old messages and emails, searching for any hint of discontent, any sign that Emma's heart had begun to drift away. The more I searched, the more I realized that perhaps the truth was more complex than a simple betrayal. There were hints of confusion in her words, echoes of unresolved conflicts that I had never fully addressed. I decided that I needed to meet her in person, face to face, heart to heart, so that we could both confront the truth. I arranged to meet her at our favorite cafe, a quiet, intimate place that had once been the backdrop of so many shared dreams. The day of our meeting was overcast, the sky heavy with gray clouds that mirrored my inner turmoil. I arrived early, my hands trembling as I waited, the ring still hidden safely in the pocket of my jacket. Every tick of the clock felt like an eternity, and I rehearsed the questions in my mind, preparing for the hardest conversation of my life. When Emma finally arrived, she looked worn, her eyes red and puffy from crying. There was an air of uncertainty about her, a vulnerability that I had never seen before. We sat down at a secluded table in the corner, the murmur of other patrons providing a soft, indistinct background. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. I searched her face for answers, for any clue that might help me understand the whirlwind of emotions I was experiencing. Finally, in a shaky voice, she began, "I've been confused, Sarah. I thought I loved you, but sometimes I felt lost, unsure of what I wanted." Her words were a bitter pill, each syllable laced with regret. "I never wanted to hurt you," she continued, "but I ended up talking to someone else. I didn't mean for it to happen, but it did, and now I'm not sure what I feel." My heart ached as I listened, torn between the love I had always known and the painful reality that was unfolding before me. The conversation stretched for hours, an agonizing, raw exchange of truths, confessions, and lingering regrets. Emma admitted that she had been feeling neglected, that the pressure of our impending future had weighed heavily on her. She said she wasn't sure if I had been as present as I could have been, that the dreams we had built together sometimes felt like distant promises rather than a tangible future. I listened, my mind a tumult of emotions: hurt, disbelief, and an overwhelming desire to understand how the woman I loved could feel so lost. "I never wanted to leave you," she whispered, "but I needed to know who I was without the weight of our expectations." Her confession was heartbreaking, a revelation that shattered the illusions of permanence that had once defined our relationship. In the wake of that painful meeting, I found myself standing at a crossroads. I was faced with the agonizing decision of whether to fight for the love I had always believed in or to let go of the life we had dreamed of building together. The questions were endless. Could we mend the deep fissures in our relationship? Could we rebuild trust after a betrayal that cut so deeply? I spent long nights tossing and turning, my thoughts a relentless storm of memories, doubts, and unspoken dreams. The engagement ring, once a symbol of our promise, now felt heavy, a reminder of a future that might never come to be. As I grappled with these questions, I turned to the one place where I had always found solace: my writing. I began journaling every thought, every tear, every moment of anger and sorrow, hoping that the act of putting my feelings into words would somehow bring clarity to the chaos. I wrote about the love I had shared with Emma, about the laughter, the long conversations under starlit skies, and the dreams we had woven together like a tapestry. And as I wrote, I realized that even though the path ahead was uncertain, I still had the power to shape my destiny. I could choose to fight for the relationship, to seek counseling, to rebuild the trust that had been broken, or I could choose to let go and forge a new path on my own. In the days that followed, I reached out to a trusted friend, Michael, who had always been a steady presence in my life. Over a quiet dinner at a small Italian restaurant, I confided in him the details of that heart-wrenching conversation. "I don't know what to do," I admitted, my voice barely audible. "I love her, but I can't ignore what I heard. How do I rebuild a future when everything feels so uncertain?" Michael listened intently, his eyes reflecting a deep empathy that reassured me. "Sometimes," he said slowly, "love isn't about having all the answers. It's about taking the risk, even when you're scared, and trusting that whatever happens, you'll find a way to move forward." His words were both comforting and challenging, a reminder that the future is never set in stone, and that sometimes the hardest choices lead to the greatest growth. After several days of reflection, I decided that I needed to give our relationship one last chance. A chance to rebuild on the foundation of honesty and vulnerability. I reached out to Emma and proposed that we attend couples therapy together. A space where we could speak openly about our fears, our disappointments, and the unspoken dreams that had brought us together in the first place. To my relief, she agreed. We began attending sessions with a renowned therapist, Dr. Thompson, whose gentle yet probing questions forced us to confront the underlying issues that had led to our current crisis. In those therapy sessions, we explored the pressures of our past, the expectations we had placed on each other, and the ways in which our love had been overshadowed by the weight of unspoken fears. Emma admitted that she had felt lost amid the chaos of planning our future, that the idea of forever had suddenly become overwhelming, and that her secret call had been a cry for clarity, a desperate attempt to understand her own heart. I too shared my own insecurities, the fear that I wasn't enough, that my love and dedication were being taken for granted. It was a painful, honest process, one that laid bare our vulnerabilities and forced us to confront the fractures in our bond. Yet, with each session there emerged a glimmer of hope, a tentative promise that we could, together, rebuild what had been broken. The road to recovery was neither linear nor easy. There were days when anger flared and tears flowed freely, when the weight of our past threatened to pull us under. But there were also moments of profound connection, quiet evenings when we sat side by side on the couch, simply holding each other and remembering why we had fallen in love. Slowly the wounds began to heal. The engagement ring, once a symbol of a promised future, started to regain its luster as a reminder of the love that, despite everything, still flickered in our hearts. As the weeks turned into months, our progress became evident not only in therapy sessions but in the small, everyday gestures that began to replace the echoes of betrayal. Emma started leaving little notes for me, reminders of our shared dreams, expressions of gratitude for the moments we still cherished. I, in turn, made an effort to communicate more openly, to share my fears and hopes without the fear of judgment. Our relationship was transformed by the act of honest, vulnerable conversation, a process that slowly rebuilt the trust that had been shattered by that fateful overheard call. Outside of our personal journey, the incident had a ripple effect on my social circle and within the community. I found that many of my friends had experienced similar moments of doubt and betrayal in their own relationships, and as I shared my story on my blog, I received an outpouring of support and empathy. Strangers wrote to me, recounting their own experiences of heartbreak and the eventual triumph of overcoming adversity. Their words became a chorus of affirmation, a reminder that even in the face of the deepest uncertainties, love can be both fragile and incredibly resilient. My journey was not without its setbacks. There were times when the memory of that overheard call, those haunting words that had altered everything, would resurface in the quiet moments before sleep, or in the midst of a heated argument that threatened to undo the progress we had made. In those moments, I would close my eyes and recall the supportive voices from therapy, from my friends, from the countless strangers who had reached out with words of encouragement. I learned to accept that healing was a process, a series of steps, some forward and some backward, but that each step, no matter how small, was a victory over the pain of the past. Over the course of a year, as our therapy sessions continued and our relationship began to find a new equilibrium, I also made a conscious effort to rediscover my own identity outside of our partnership. I resumed my passion for writing, channeling my emotions into essays and poems that explored the themes of love, loss, and redemption. I began to paint again, abstract canvases that captured the chaotic beauty of human emotion, and found that the creative process was both cathartic and empowering. I attended workshops, joined local art groups, and even held a small exhibition of my work, where I shared the story of my journey with an audience that saw in my art the raw truth of resilience. Through these creative outlets, I discovered that my worth was not defined solely by my relationship with Emma, but by the strength and passion that resided within me. I learned to celebrate my individuality, the quirks, the scars, the unique experiences that had shaped me into the person I was becoming. And as I embraced my own power, I began to see that the future was not a fixed path but an open road, filled with endless possibilities for growth, connection, and love. One sunny afternoon, nearly 18 months after that fateful day, Emma and I took a spontaneous trip to a secluded cabin in the woods, a retreat recommended by our therapist as a way to reconnect with nature and with each other. The cabin was nestled among towering pines and bathed in the gentle glow of a setting sun. It was a world apart from the chaos of the city, a place where time seemed to slow down and the only sounds were the rustling of leaves and the distant call of birds. As we sat on the wooden porch, sharing a quiet meal and watching the sky turn brilliant shades of orange and pink, I felt a deep sense of peace. The wounds of the past were still there, but they had begun to heal, replaced by the promise of new beginnings. Emma reached across the table and took my hand, her eyes meeting mine with a look of sincerity that made my heart ache with both love and regret. "I'm so sorry," she said softly. "For everything, the secrets, the doubts, the pain. I never meant to hurt you." In that moment, I realized that forgiveness was not about forgetting the past, but about embracing the future with an open heart. I squeezed her hand gently and replied, "I love you, Emma. I believe in us and I believe that together we can overcome anything." The words, spoken with quiet conviction, resonated deeply within me, a promise that we would face the future side by side, no matter how uncertain it might be. The trip marked a turning point, a moment when the weight of the past was slowly lifted, replaced by a shared commitment to rebuild our relationship on a foundation of honesty, vulnerability, and mutual respect. We spent that week exploring the natural beauty of the wilderness, taking long walks through sun-dappled forests, and sitting together in silence, letting the tranquility of nature soothe our troubled hearts. It was in those quiet moments that I began to understand the true nature of love. It was not a static state of perfection, but a dynamic, ever-evolving journey that required constant nurturing, forgiveness, and growth. I learned that the trials we faced were not a reflection of our failure, but rather a testament to our willingness to confront our deepest fears and to emerge stronger on the other side. When we returned to the city, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. I continued to invest in our relationship, attending counseling, engaging in open conversations, and creating new memories that celebrated the strength of our love. I also continued to write, paint, and share my story with an ever-growing community of readers who found solace and inspiration in my words. Each day, I worked to build a future that was not defined by the betrayals of the past but by the unwavering belief that love, when nurtured with care and honesty, could overcome even the most painful of truths. Looking back on that tumultuous period, I realized that the moment I overheard Emma's phone call was a catalyst, a turning point that forced me to confront the complexities of love and the fragility of our human connections. It was a moment of raw, unfiltered pain that shattered illusions and exposed hidden truths. And yet, in that same moment, it also ignited a journey of self-discovery and transformation, a journey that led me to understand that true love is not a guarantee of eternal bliss, but a commitment to facing life's uncertainties together with courage, resilience, and the willingness to forgive. As I sit here now in my quiet office, surrounded by the soft hum of creativity and the gentle glow of evening light, I reflect on the winding, unpredictable path that brought me here. The memories of that fateful day, the sound of Emma's whispered confession, the shock of betrayal, the long, agonizing nights spent questioning everything, are etched into my soul. They serve as both a reminder of the pain I endured and a testament to the strength I discovered within myself. I have learned that every setback is an opportunity to rebuild, every scar a symbol of survival, and every tear a seed for future growth. This is my story, a story of love and loss, of betrayal and redemption, and ultimately, of the unyielding power of the human heart to heal and to hope. It is a story of a man who, on the brink of proposing a lifetime of love, was forced to confront the reality of uncertainty and heartbreak. But it is also a story of resilience, a journey that transformed raw pain into a future filled with possibility, compassion, and the quiet strength of two people willing to fight for their love. And as I continue to write my own destiny, I carry with me the unshakable belief that no matter how dark the night, the dawn always brings with it the promise of a new beginning.